that my name is Gal and I'm Jewish, and we have had enough of Jew hatred.
Gal Gadot has finally had enough, and Rachel Zegler's personal problems are now publicly visible. The live-action Snow White has been released, but no one is discussing the evil queen's cheekbones or the storybook magic. The drama that goes on behind the scenes is what everyone is talking about, and boy, is it bringing the soap opera to life? Gal Gadot was having serious problems with her co-star, but you never know what started it all. On March 21st, 2025, it was actually only one Instagram post. Rachel celebrated the release of Snow White by posting a poignant homage on her Instagram. Behind-the-scenes hugs, smiles, and thank yous to all the wonderful people she worked with filled the poignant, introspective piece. She even described the movie as life-changing and claimed that over the 4 arduous years she spent working on it, she blossomed into a regular on the red carpet. Fans noticed one very clear thing missing as they went through. Happy to be a part of her sweet nostalgia. Where in the world was Gal Gadot?
Very grateful. We're great. We're exhausted.
Yeah, you are.
Messy.
What are the
and
age
loud.
ranges?
Not only did Rachel not have a throwback selfie with her, but she was also not named or tagged. Gal, who played the movie's legendary evil queen and practically shared top billing, was completely absent. Fan analysis of this social media snub suddenly took precedence over discussions on clothing or cinematography. Did it have shade? Was it quiet? Or did it go deeper? Now, if you thought this was just a forgotten tag, prepare ready for a much dirtier rabbit hole. The influx of theories wasn't very subtle. How about at the top? Political. Regarding the Israel-Palestine problem, it turns out that Rachel and Gal are not even close to agreeing. Gal, who is Israeli, has publicly backed Israel for a long time. Rachel, meanwhile, has expressed her support for Palestine, and she didn't mutter it either.
Zegler also faced blowback after posting Free Palestine. Gadot is from Israel and served in the Israeli army.
Her post about Free Palestine during filming evidently created a commotion, and it wasn't a little one.
We would see people not condemning Hamas, but celebrating, justifying, and cheering on a massacre of Jews.
On set, there were rumors that things were hostile and that the whole "we're just here to work" mentality may have been more about survival than camaraderie. However, politics isn't the only factor that separates these two. We should discuss their life away from the camera. Gal is 39 years old, married since 2008, and has 4 children. She exudes brightness in her red carpet dresses and is all about putting her family first.
13, almost 8, 3.5, and 1. Just turned 1.
That's a lot.
So we experience every hormone.
Rachel is a 23-year-old who is just starting her career as a celebrity and is still learning how to manage award shows and apartment shopping.
When you leave the scene, I turned to the camera and I was like, Gal's mad. Yeah. But then you were FaceTiming your kids right after. Like, it's so good.
Sometimes it feels like a canyon because these women are actually living in 2 distinct universes. They won't be exchanging skincare advice in a trailer, at least not without a hint of polite unease lingering. However, this is where it becomes even more juicy. In spite of all the rumors and speculation, the 2 actresses attended the film's major Los Angeles premiere on March 15th, 2025 together. They did, in fact, pose side by side for the cameras. However, the crowd witnessed everything. The light in their eyes was clearly not from enthusiasm, the body language was rigid, and the grins were tight. Watching 2 coworkers act like best friends for HR at a workplace party was like that. They were professional, to be sure, but they weren't really friendly. Suddenly, each red carpet picture became a clue to the unsolved question. Did Rachel and Gal truly detest their jobs together? And then something changed. Rachel made an effort to steer the conversation during interviews. She began by discussing the constant competition between women in Hollywood and the value of standing by other actresses. Although she never specifically identified Gal, those are extremely strong statements and a necessary message. Naturally, her sentence was seen as a mystery by fans. Did she act as though she wasn't making fun of him? Could it be that she was subtly affirming that there was undoubtedly something to see here while simultaneously saying, "Move on, there's nothing to see here"?
What would you say to those who are just kind of overly critiquing the film at this point? You've worked so hard on it.
Let's now discuss how all of this actually impacted Disney, and here's a hint. Those boys are having a rough time. They should be enjoying the success of yet another box office hit, but they're not. Since all of this drama was making headlines, they were unable to do much but control the damage. The premiere was apparently shortened by the studio. The rollout was so subdued that it was almost as if they were hoping no one would ask too many questions. There was no spectacular red carpet event or huge press junket, but everyone did. The tension between Rachel and Gal was added, and Disney found themselves in a PR problem that was beyond their capacity to manage. It doesn't stop there, though, because in addition to everything else, Disney has been dealing with a lot of criticism regarding its casting decisions.
She's talented, she's attractive, she's got skill, but there are a lot of actresses in Hollywood who bring all that to the table and are not going to absolutely sabotage your work.
When Disney announced Rachel Zegler as their new Snow White in June 2021, it seemed fantastic as first. She is young, extremely gifted, and has a voice that was virtually made for musicals. With uncontrollable enthusiasm, director Mark Webb described her singing prowess as just the beginning of her gifts. He claimed she provided power, knowledge, and optimism, all the qualities you would expect from a princess in the current era. The casting crew may have been thrilled, but not everyone was applauding.
Every young person dreams about a phone call like that. I've been lucky to have a few of those in my life, but this one is certainly extra special as a huge Disney fan.
Here's the thing. The unsubtle appellation Snow White has long been characterized as having skin as white as snow. It is literally the first thing that comes to mind while discussing the character. Thus, there were many questions when Rachel, who is of Polish and Colombian ancestry, was cast in the part. Everyone had something to say, from political pundits to movie critics, and comment sections exploded.
The reason Snow White is called Snow White in this version of the film, because of course she is not white as snow, is because she and her family go through a snowstorm and survive the snowstorm, and so it's a mark of her resilience. That's why she's called Snow White.
Some people, particularly those who lean conservative, were upset that there was now a Latina Disney princess, while others were ecstatic. With all guns blazing, Ben Shapiro then jumped in and insisted that using a Latina actor for Snow White was deviating too much from the original plot of the narrative. And now, Rachel didn't hide during all of this. Not only did she defend her casting, but she also applauded it when she spoke up. She claimed to be honored, proud, and even a little taken aback by the chance that had presented itself. Because when was the last time you saw a Latina actress play a role that has traditionally been played by the person with the palest complexion?
It's the most emotional experience that a person can go through to know that what they're working on is something that has reached a generation of people.
For many people who had never before seen themselves in a Disney fairy tale, the representation was powerful. Rachel, however, didn't stop there. Reminding everyone that the focus should be on talent rather than skin tone, she pushed the discussion along. She discussed how Snow White is adored in Spanish-speaking nations, and how this role brought her and an entire generation of children the chance to witness someone who liked them in a princess gown. It's strong stuff. And if you believe the argument ended there, oh no, it was only warming up. Because beneath all the cheers and indignation lay a more complex and profound query. How can we employ these traditional fairy tales in the modern world? Can they develop with us, or are they indestructible? The latter was obviously Disney's choice. In addition to casting Rachel, they also changed the plot. The name of Snow White in this version is not derived from her skin tone.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
Not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Her name is not a reflection of her beauty, but rather of her survival of a real snowfall as a baby. That's a twist, then. The theme of this Snow White adaptation, according to Rachel, is resiliency. Being the fairest of them all is no longer the main goal. Instead, strength, survival, and self-realization are stressed. She says, one of the core points in our film for any young woman or young person is remembering how strong you actually are. She essentially sums it up in one of her statements. A story that has been told since the 1800s was suddenly given a 21st century twist. However, not everyone accepted this change. Critics claimed that the story's origins were taken away by the modifications. They believed the symbolism was significant, and Disney was going too far to be considered woke. While some viewed the casting as a sign of advancement, others said it was needless manipulation. And during the conflagration, Rachel was just trying to do her job and keep a smile on her face. Insiders and cinema historians began to weigh in with increasingly expansive perspectives in the interim. As an example, Leonard Maltin had a good point. He claimed that stories have always changed along with civilization, and that our fairy tales also change as our world does. And if variety makes it easier for more individuals to identify with such experiences, what's the harm? But this whole thing revealed not only Hollywood's increasing pains, but also the tensions that everyone was experiencing. A cultural struggle between upholding tradition and advocating for representation is currently taking place. And it was obvious that Disney was taking a stance when they chose Rachel Zegler to wear that famous outfit. But here's the thing. Disney had a huge opportunity to reconsider how tales are delivered, even though this casting choice may have angered some. Ask yourself, how many times have we seen the same stories about pale-faced princesses? Now is the time to change the course. Whether you liked it or not, it made people talk.